All right, it's Monday on Daily Delivery. Patrick Reusse joins me. I am Michael Rand. Patrick, it's not often on this show that we get to talk about what possibly was the greatest regular season game in one of these local sports franchises' history, but you tweeted it on Sunday after the Vikings beat the Bills 33-30 in overtime. The tweet basically was, "Don't argue with me. This was the greatest regular season win in Vikings history." And you didn't get a lot of argument, and I'm having a hard time coming up with an argument based on all the twists and turns in that game. What was at stake, quality of opponent, who they were going up against, the elements, things like that. It's right up there. If it's not the one, it's right up there.
Unlikelihood too
Yes.
is a big one.
Yes.
That was the big one for me yesterday watching that because you go into the fourth quarter, you're down 27-10, you're down at your other end of the field, you haven't moved the ball, and Kirk's not looking too good, and Dalvin Cook pops 180 yards, and then my reaction then was, boy, it's not often that a team runs 80 yards from scrimmage for a touchdown and gets beat in the NFL. And then I remember the Tony Dorsett 99-yarder
Yes.
way back when. But still, you thought, that they haven't really done a great job of stopping Buffalo here. But that fourth quarter, and then the overtime was the best I've ever seen with as far as the twists and the turns and the unlikelihood of winning it, and then having it won, and then having it taken away. And
Yes.
it was everything that causes everybody in the country to watch football. I mean, and it is the talk of that game this morning. It's not really often that one game is the talk of the entire country. One random regular season game played at noon is the talk of the entire country, but it's the talk of the entire country this morning. And Jefferson's catch,
Yes.
best I've ever seen.
Unbelievable.
I've seen replays of Willie Mays' catch in 54. I would put this one right up there with that. It was the damnedest thing I've ever seen. When the announcer started telling me that he'd caught it, I said, "What? He didn't catch it. He couldn't have caught it."
Right.
And then he showed it that he caught it. There was no dispute about it. I'm sure Buffalo was getting ready to throw a challenge flag, and they couldn't. It was unbelievable because, first of all, he's covered. The guy's got the first crack at the ball in front of him, and how he wrestles it away from him and then keeps it in one hand going down to the turf.
Yes.
Is the dangest thing I've ever seen. And by the way, he had about four others in the fourth quarter and overtime. The one down there that put him at the 2-yard line.
Yes.
It looks like the defender is in perfect position for that one, and he's got a guy in front of him, and here comes the ball zooming through there and gets past the guy. But he still had his concentration to catch that one had to be unbelievable too. I've said for about 5 years now, one of the most, maybe longer, how good the receivers are now is phenomenal compared to what used to be the case. I mean, everybody's Larry Fitzgerald now,
Yeah.
but yesterday the catches he made, and then the catch that he made is just it was, to me, the greatest day. Well, the greatest regular season day of all time. For a receiver, just because of the quality of the catches. Now we got Randy Moss at 3 long TDs, but there was no, in Moss's greatest games, it wasn't like, how did he possibly catch that? It was, he ran away from guys and they threw the ball to him, right?
Sure.
That's how he did. But I've never watched one guy in one quarter and then into overtime how many times I said, how did he catch that?
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
No.
It was just a fantastic performance by him. And the gutsiness of this team was on full display. I mean, they don't quit. I don't see a lot of luck in yesterday's game. I mean, there was good fortune, but there was also bad fortune. And we've been talking about their luck all year, but they played Josh Allen. He had a good game until he had a bad game and lost the game for them. But there was no luck involved in this one. These guys are good. We got an 8-1. They, Buffalo, the Eagles got the Commanders tonight, so they should win. But now the Cowboys lost. They got the Cowboys coming to town next Sunday. They can put them away as far as finishing ahead of them in the NFC. So I mean, it was a fabulous. The fourth quarter took forever.
Yes.
The overtime took forever, and yet you were mesmerized. It was great.
It was. I mean, what made it, what elevates it in a lot of stature. And I'll get into some of the other greatest games in Vikings history here in a little bit, regular season games, just to see if this one really does hold up for all the right reasons. But you're right. It was the greatness factor and the twists and turns combined with the Jefferson catch. The best catch I've ever seen, honestly. I mean, especially by a Vikings player. Like, I cannot believe that he made that catch, especially in that situation. It was like 4th and forever. They're playing everybody
Game's
back.
Over.
Game's over if he doesn't make the play, right? Because they only had, I think it was underneath the 2-minute warning. They only had one timeout left. Like, there's no chance for them to win if he doesn't make that catch. And so he comes down with that. But then the twists and turns after that. So they get down to the goal line. Looks like Jefferson has scored the go-ahead touchdown with 45 seconds left, but they mark him short, which was the right call on replay. And then they get they go for it on 4th down. Looks like Dalvin Cook is wide open. Looks going to walk into the end zone if he doesn't drop the pass. He drops it, but it's offside, so they get one more chance.
They put it at the half-inch line.
Yeah, they had to make half an inch. Cousins can't sneak it in. I mean, and it was the right spot.
He got stopped.
He did.
They tipped him sideways. So
yes.
It was unbelievable.
It looks like that's ball game, and then the Josh Allen botched snap, like that's the part where you're just like, okay,
what are they doing? Why are they? To me, okay, you can take a safety there, but you can't have a guy trying to sneak it out from 4 inches up. It was at the 4-inch line.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, he's got to make ground. It's not like he's just, he's got to make. I would have pitched it, and if the guy gets a safety, so what? Otherwise, he might run 99 yards because the whole line's up. You should have done something. That was stupid what they did, but Josh Allen screwed up the game there too because he didn't wait for the snap to get into his hands. He started sneaking before he got the ball. He was really good for a lot of the day, and then he cost him the ball game with 2 bad interceptions. The second of Peterson made a nice play in the first one. Second one was just god awful, thrown into double coverage and you looked it up. There was how much time left? There was
a minute 12 left when the game ended. Yeah,
minute 12. Yeah, so
plenty of time.
But I wasn't even surprised. I was watching it, and he was going down the field. I said, "The Vikings are going to win this game. Something's going to happen. He's going to screw it up." And I just wonder if was Kirk nude on the Clyde afterwards? Was he wearing a little like Chippendales type of?
Oh no!
I don't know. That must have been there must have been some body behavior on that plane trip.
Take a playcation to Mystic Lake. With 24/7 gaming, the good times never have to end. And you can satisfy your cravings at our restaurants and bars. Or relax in one of our luxurious hotel rooms. Those that play together, stay together. And don't forget to join Club M so you can spark new memories and bask in the rewards along the way. Follow the lights to Mystic Lake, where every day is play day.
I mean, right now they're, I don't think any Viking teams ever won 14 games, right? Because they never had 17, right?
No,
back in the day, they only when Bud had his greatest team, they only had 14-game regular season. So
98 won 15-1.
Oh, that's right. What am I thinking of? Yeah, 15-1. That's right.
But,
so this team is they're gonna. I think I love with everything they got in front of them. 14-3. That's possible. Maybe
Sure.
61. Who knows? After yesterday, I'll believe anything.
Yes. Right, because I mean you get that touchdown, but then Buffalo comes back and ties it with the field goal at the end of regulation. They get the ball to start overtime. They're marching down. Looks like they're going to score the touchdown that ends the game, but they get stalled. Buffalo gets another chance. Buffalo got some fortune along the way in that field goal drive with the pass that shouldn't have been a completion.
What was that? That wasn't fourth. That wasn't third. Was that third down?
I think it was a third down play, and it got him a lot of yards. So
it got him 20 yards.
They still would, even if that was incomplete, I think they still would have had a chance to get a field goal. But and just the last pick, you're right. I mean, Peterson made some plays, but that was a bad throw by Josh Allen. He's had a few of those in the last few weeks where he's coughed it up like that. He had a couple against the Packers late that let the Packers hang around in that game too. But yeah, I mean, just the sum total of it. Now, do you put this one? I mean, there's recency bias, obviously, when you just watched a game. In terms of drama, there's no doubt. In terms of impact, I still have to wonder if 98 at Lambeau is different. Even that was a blowout. That was not the same kind of game as this. But I think that
was the Monday night regular season when is that when they were both teams were 4-0, I think, going in.
Yeah, it was the kind of the changing of the guard game.
That would probably be the contender I would come up with, and of course you can go back to their first ever game where they embarrassed the Bears on their first ever game, but of course they ended up 2-11-1 or something that year. So, but yeah, I guess when I tweeted that out in all sincerity,
yes,
it was the unlikelihood of it that that elevated it for me. It was you're going in there, you're not, you're down 27-10. The idea that they're going to win the game, the idea they're going to win the game going into the fourth quarter hadn't occurred to anybody but them, the players.
Yes.
Nobody watching in Minnesota considered it a possibility of winning that game. Now, whether I would have changed my tune had they lost it, if Allen had let them down to score at the end, maybe, but it still would have been if Buffalo had scored at the end, it still would have been a fantastic game to remember one way or the other. So it was, I don't know. I don't think I've ever been in a regular season as surprised to see them win a great game. It was a great game, and Cousins, God love him, made some fantastic throws in the fourth quarter. I mean, heaving it down the sidelines and hitting a guy 25 yards down and squeezing it in a couple of times to Jefferson, where only Jefferson could catch it, not on the great catch, but the other one down there on the 2-yard line. And some of those throws were fantastic. So
yes, they were. Yeah,
I mean, we used to always rip him. He's great in the fourth quarter, but it's garbage time. Maybe he's just a great fourth quarter quarterback. They were just in garbage time too often. I don't know. But he's having a hell of a year. There's no doubt about it. And who's going to be a little pricey though? Jefferson.
Yeah,
Whatever
just a little
the number. Well, who's making the most?
It might be Cup at this point. I'm not sure who's making the most right now.
But over Cup, because this guy's going to be making the most.
Yeah, he's going to break the bank. He's going to be worth it. Worth it too. I was just looking up the win probabilities during that game. Patrick, ESPN does that little win probability on the side. It was like before the Cook touchdown, and even after the Cook touchdown, at some points it was like 97% Buffalo.
Right. Before the Cook touchdown, it was
it was like 97, 98% Buffalo.
Right.
And it felt even worse because they just weren't. Again, that's the thing that we kind of forget after a finish like this. But it was that same script again where they score their very first possession, and they do nothing pretty much after that for the middle 2 quarters of the game, which is they're going to have to solve that at some point. But the thing that
they own the fourth quarter. What do they care? Go around all day long. Take those up during the second and third quarters and go get them in the fourth.
Them in the fourth. It's a tough way to live, but it's working. it makes for fun viewing. I mean, this is like,
I think this is at this moment, after it, not before yesterday, but at this moment, this might be the most beloved they've been since '98. Man, no, '09, I guess. Okay,
'09
we love Brett, right? And the
for that year, yes.
That game where they beat San Francisco at the end,
yes.
right? San
Which
Francisco
was
at the end was another nominee for great
yes,
game, but there was not nearly as many twists and turns in that game as there was in this one.
No, that was the other one I had written down in the Ahmad Rashad Hail Mary game.
That you knew that team wasn't going to do anything once they got to the postseason anyway. But it didn't make it. It was a great play. It was fun. It got them in the playoffs, but you knew they weren't going to do anything when they got there. They weren't any. That was a very mediocre team. So yeah, I don't put that in that class.
This is
Tommy Kramer's guys are going to try to celebrate it with some kind of a event.
Yes.
December 16th or 15th or whatever the date is. They're trying to get somebody to come out there and pay Tommy for an autograph or some damn thing. So anyway, but yeah, it was just fan right now. I mean, it is, there's a lot of stuff going on in this market right now, but there's only one thing that counts right this morning. I'll tell you that it's the Vikings.
That is for sure. The fallout from this one, if you lose that one, it's not the end of the world, but just but being able to win this game, the unexpected game, the game you didn't think you were going to get going in, you probably didn't think you were going to win this one. And, certainly as the game unfolded and at various points while the game is going on, you didn't think you were going to get this one. To get this one now, just you keep buying yourself more cushion. You keep buying yourself more, buying yourself time as the season goes along. And, I think you alluded to it already, but when you beat Buffalo, a very good team, you beat them on the road, you beat them more or less at full strength for Buffalo, that changes the script. That now it's not just like, what was their best win before this? Probably Green Bay at the start of the year, but Green Bay's proven to be not that good.
Yes, right. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's nothing, okay, they get Miami is a terrific win, except you did Miami 7-0 and 2 a place,
right?
So that's there was a lot of good fortune before this win that you could a lot of games where God they tried to lose to the Bears, they tried to lose to the Lions, they tried to lose to a bunch of mediocre teams. This was completely opposite than that. This was a gutsy, incredible effort by them. From even when they get stopped on a 4-inch line, they didn't quit.
Right.
They didn't quit, and all of they played their arse off, and Kendricks ends up on the football in the end zone. It was,
and that still wasn't the end. There was like 4 more twists and turns after that.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
I can't recall it. Been a long time, I guess, since '09. Then we can officially say that people have been this happy about the Vikings. Yes. I mean, the Minneapolis Miracle, obviously. Right. We thought we were going to the Super Bowl. That team was 13-3, right?
Yes, that team went 13-3.
13-3, and then they that whole season, which was pretty damn good with a backup quarterback, is ruined by the fact they got humiliated in
Philadelphia.
Yeah, it was. But remember, we're talking regular season games.
Of course,
we can come up with 4 or 5 playoff games that are probably more memorable. So,
speaking of gutsy, Patrick, your guy D'Lo.
I've been on that bandwagon all the time.
Oh, you have, yeah.
I only read like 98% of the time. Unlike most of the people. Where'd that come from?
I don't know.
It was 11 for 13.
Something like that. Yeah, they needed it. And he like you said, he held Garland down too. To
51. Yeah, held it to 51. That's Cleveland's basketball team's got to be looking around saying what happened, just like the Buffalo football team does. Cleveland's been, JB, our old friend JB, is having a hell of a year there. They got a really good team. I like that team a lot. I watched quite a bit of them the other night for some reason. And then these guys pop up and put up 127 and look like a pass. I didn't watch much of it at all. And when the box score came in, I said, what is this? Where'd this come from? 11 for 13 from the field for a guy who's just been terrible. And if you didn't know that in 2 days from now he's going to be terrible again, you could get pretty excited, right?
That's right.
If you could believe this was the start of a run of excellence by him, you could get excited. I can't buy it. So, but boy, did they need that, boy, the way they've been playing. Wow,
well, they almost gave it away too. I don't know if you did. I don't know if you followed the game flow, but they were up 20.
I didn't know they were that far ahead.
They were up 20 to start the fourth quarter. And Cleveland
it had a Memphis playoff.
It had a Memphis playoff feel to it. Cleveland got it all the way back to the point where at the end, they had someone, I can't remember who missed a free throw. It was D'Lo missed a free throw, and Cleveland had the ball down 3 with 7 seconds left, but their inbounds pass got deflected, I think, by Gobert, stolen, and then that was pretty much ball game. So they got it all the way down to the point where they had a chance to a possession where they could have tied the game at the end, and then they did not.
Well, that's boy, did they need that, man.
They did.
I mean, the turkeys of the year coming up here. We were sifting through a lot of things there to see who are the leading candidates from this team, and it gave the committee pause to wait a while here before committing itself. But this whole operation is still on probation with me, man. It's they have been at, I wish I'd watched more of it yesterday. I just saw a little of it, but they have been unwatchable.
Yes.
For long, terrible hunks of indifferent play. And of all the disappointments, the lack of involvement of Anthony Edwards had been the greatest to me. That all of a sudden he's decided to join in the pouting brigade. And, as beloved as the Vikings are right now, these guys were charging hard to surpass the Twins of the last half of the season for unlovability.
Yes.
Right?
And if you go back 2 months, like the narrative was completely opposite. Like everyone was in love with the idea of what the Timberwolves could do, and the Vikings were just like, they're going to go 8-9 and 9-8 again. Like nobody had any care in the world really about this Vikings team.
But one thing about the Vikings right now Darsow got a concussion and he had a little difference there, but he'll be back. But I've said everything. Now, obviously, they're way better than we thought they were going to be, but they're also healthy. They're like Buffalo was missing 3 guys yesterday, and the Vikings are, they got a lot of good players, and they're healthy.
Yeah, they're getting a little thin in the secondary now too, with Dantzler on IR, and
whoever Duke, whatever his name
Duke
is,
Shelley?
he did a hell of a play in the end zone.
Yes, he did.
I don't know who he was, but that big old guy. That was the other thing is Jefferson made all these fabulous catches for Cousins. Nobody really made a great catch for Allen yesterday,
except for Diggs. Diggs made that one-hander that he grabbed too. But
right. Yeah, but Diggs, I mean, down when he needed that one from Diggs.
Yes,
down there on the sideline, and didn't get it. And Diggs had to. I wonder if Jefferson feels that rivalry, even though they never played with each other and really hadn't been hadn't competed against each other. I wonder if that was one reason Jefferson was phenomenal yesterday, was he knew Diggs was watching him.
I wondered that too, just because Jefferson doesn't really get into that big rah-rah talk, but he definitely, I'm sure he felt some of that. I would think he did. It's only natural if you're a competitor, so.
Yeah. It was, anyway, that was a great win. And then a needed win by our Fighting Wolvies, that's for sure.
Yes. We probably need to talk a little bit, Patrick, about our Big Ten West co-leading Gopher football team.
Yes.
How about that?
They've won 3 in a row now against teams they probably should beat. But Iowa coming in, Iowa is one of the co-leaders, right? Because they beat
Yes.
Wisconsin. So you got. Here's the problem, though. If they beat Iowa, then Iowa's out of it,
Right.
and Illinois is going to lose at Michigan.
Right.
So it ends up being just you and Purdue.
Yeah.
You lose.
Yeah, because Purdue's got the
Purdue
head-to-head.
has Northwestern and Indiana left,
Correct.
right? I mean, Purdue's been very spotty at times,
Yes.
but I can't see them losing either of those games. So it's going to be now. What would happen if you ended up? Well, yeah, let's see. I mean, if Iowa loses, they're out of it. In Illinois, if it's Illinois, you and Purdue, then you don't make it either because you lost to both of them.
Right.
So,
I think they need. Yeah, I think they're going to need to win out and have everybody else.
Everybody's got to lose. Everybody's got to.
And
right?
and Iowa would take care of itself if you won out, and because you would beat Iowa and Illinois, a good chance they'll lose to Michigan. But the Purdue one's the tricky one at this point. Besides them beating Iowa and Wisconsin, it's having Purdue lose to one of those 2 last place teams.
Indiana would have to get all inspired to win the old Oaken bucket and knock out Purdue or something. So
that one is at Indiana at least. So that one's if you're looking for a possibility.
How do you think Wisconsin fires Chris so they don't lose Jim Leonard? Can they really tie their wagon to Jim? Have they seen enough out of Jim Leonard to be that excited to name him the new coach? I don't know.
I mean,
that was the whole idea. Apparently, they were afraid they were going to lose him. I mean, he's a dynamic young coach, and they've done nothing to write home about. So
he's defensive guy, right?
Yeah, he's a defensive guy, but they're former great player and blah blah blah. All this enthused young defensive genius who that supposedly was one reason they fired Chris. And I don't know if you're gonna name him. There's nothing that he's done so far that I think Wisconsin's got a basic problem. They aren't very good.
Yeah.
And the quarterback stinks.
Yes, and that was the big part of the problem against Iowa because Iowa only gained 150 yards.
Oh yeah, it was unbelievable.
It was like an interception, a block punt. It was all this.
This game Saturday could be 3-2. It could be 5-3. I predicted Gophers 5-3.
5-3. Empty net goal.
This Petrus is horrible. And their offense, Iowa's offense is just brutal. They got a great defense, so it'll be But I would think the Gophers are gonna, Wisconsin will probably be a tougher game because it's on the road. But I think they're gonna beat Iowa on Saturday. So then they just gotta sit around and wait. And can the Big Ten just say no? We're not taking a team from the West.
We don't want to.
We're going to let Wisconsin. We're going to let Ohio State, and Michigan play back to back, or something.
They should. The disparity is usually fairly significant between the East and the West, but usually the West at least sends one. By the time it's all said and done, the team from the West at least can give Ohio State a game for a half in that championship game. That's not the case this year. This is not. It's not good. Those 4 teams are tied at 4-3.
What has happened to Buda Bielema's team? I mean, they were
I don't know.
Michigan State, and now they lose another one, and he was going to be the national coach of the year, and now he's trying to stay above 500. So
I don't know.
It's the West has been. The whole plan when they put the West together was that, we got Wisconsin and they're a perennial, and we got Nebraska. Nebraska's going to come back any moment now. Look out for Nebraska.
Yeah.
And they stink. So, the Gophers defense is after that 3-game losing streak, you're wondering, it was Joe Rossi. They're not going to have to worry about losing Joe Rossi. Well, maybe they are because they haven't given up anything during this 3-game winning streak. So
let's talk
about the kid quarterback. I didn't watch all that much of it.
I didn't watch.
Didn't let him do anything. Right?
He didn't. You know what? PJ is of the mind that if you don't need to do it, we're not going to do it. I think we've learned that long enough now. If they have a team where if they feel like they can just win, running the ball and not taking chances and not giving up, the potential for turnovers, things like that, they're just not going to do it. They haven't done it much in the non-conference where they had these cupcake opponents, and They didn't do it much of the day, and they didn't have to. They beat him 31-3. He ran some, he threw a little bit, but I don't think we saw much of what.
Yeah, you're right. If they can just give it to the running back and win the game, that's what he's going to do. So
yeah, and now he's going to have to do more probably against Iowa because Iowa's just got a really good defense, and they're not going to be able to build that big lead probably just running the ball. So we'll probably see a little bit more there, and you need to do more against Wisconsin. So I think we'll see more. He just didn't need to do more in that game, and I don't think he was.
And I know, by the way, if they beat Iowa, I know you idiots are going to try to charge the field. Okay,
You said that last week. Yeah, it's building now. It's building even more now.
But the Big Ten is, aren't they like sending out edicts now because of what happened? Not in the tunnel, but another game. There was an incident with the fans, and they're trying to. They're going to punish schools and let their teams charge the field. I think so.
No,
but
good luck with that.
About it, because they'll have a good crowd for the Iowa game.
Yes.
There wasn't anybody this Saturday, but they'll have a good.
Although it's going to be cold again. Jeez, it's got cold here all of a sudden. Like Saturday, I looked ahead.
I picked up the paper this morning. It was snowing. Is it still snowing? It was snowing.
I don't know. I haven't looked outside much yet, but Saturday's projected high right now is 18 and a low of 3. So good luck with that. That's it's going to be chilly in the next. It's like winters here already after the unseasonably warm October that we had. But
it was a great fall while it lasted, man. That's for sure.
It was. A couple more things. Gopher women. Mara Braun throws in a 3-pointer. I think it was 1.7 left when they inbounded it, got it to her.
Wow.
She put up a deep shot. 101-99.
She must be something, huh? She had 34.
Yeah, that was I didn't watch the whole game. I saw some highlights of that game. It was a very offensive-minded game, so we put it because 101-99 against Lehigh. We'll do that. But I think on the court at the end, they had 3 freshmen and 2 sophomores, so they're definitely in the full-on
if they can get
rebuild.
People healthy. They've lost at least a couple of players, just like the men's team has. They've got guys. They got players not playing. So, but hey, yeah, you need that one. Lehigh's got what, 6 Minnesotans?
Yes. 6 Minnesotans.
That's it's funny how that Youngblood had a piece on that about how that connection all came about there out there at Lehigh. But hey, if you're not getting recruited by the Big Ten and you got a chance to get basically an Ivy League education, why not?
Yes.
You know, the difference between female athletes and male athletes is female athletes are usually interested in what they're going to get their degrees in and education. Go into class and that kind of stuff. You know, they're Stanford is a big competitor for female athletes in Minnesota.
Yes.
You know, they aren't in sports, because
not in men's sports.
Not in men's sports. Not in men's sports, because when you go out there, you have to actually open a book, and we don't like that. We like them we like being hand carried right through by the 25 tutors. And one of the great change in college athletics for me in these last 10, 12, 15 years, in addition to NIL and free transfers, is it's impossible to flunk out.
Right.
You walk slowly past the academic building, you're going to get a B. And then we're going to tell you how our grade point is fantastic, even though nobody's any smarter than they were 10, 20 years ago when they were still flunking out. So it's part of the great hypocrisy of college athletics in the male side, at least in the big time sports. So.
Man, I was wondering what today's out of nowhere rant was going to be, and that one did not. That one did not disappoint.
Yes,
it's not wrong
idiots
though.
Being hand carried through college without actually going to class. So that's this one. But what the hell? They're bringing in a lot of money and blah blah blah. So
you know how they could bring in a little bit more money, Patrick? Let's finish with this. Play St. Thomas.
That's right. Play St. Thomas. It's amazing how Gopher fans. One of the responses to my column, a couple of them were, they're not a worthy opponent. Okay. St. Francis of Brooklyn, who is a worthy opponent, though, right? Chicago State is a worthy opponent.
Right.
St. Thomas beat them both bloody, 83-61, one of them. And yesterday, I didn't see any, but 84-48 over St. Francis of Brooklyn, who the Gophers just beat Friday. And we were reading about how much improved the Gophers were with their freshmen against this mighty challenge. I can tell you, St. Thomas, this kid they got from Brookfield, Wisconsin, is a Big Ten quality player. The guard,
Okay.
Rowley or whatever it is, he is terrific, and they're going to have something going here. But it's just why you don't have them over and draw 12,000 people instead of 4,000 for these other games. I don't understand. It just makes no sense to me. And people say, well, there's nothing to gain. Well, yes, there is. 12,000 people. That's what there is to gain, right? Instead of nobody being there.
And when you don't play them, it seems like you're afraid to do it, and maybe they will at some point down the road with the schedule. But yeah, to that point, I mean, maybe they're still bearing the scars of scheduling North Dakota State in football and they getting steamrolled a couple times because there was nothing to gain there and all to lose. But yeah, your point's a good one. Basketball's the one major sport, maybe hockey at some point too, where you could imagine a competitive rivalry developing between these two teams, between these two schools.
Well, you keep hearing that the big plan at St. Thomas for 6, 7, 8 years from now is to be in the Big East in basketball. Now that would take a lot of funding because when you change the conference, you got to change in everything, right? And
yes,
sending your teams all to the Big East places is, but certainly a good private school in a market like this would be very attractive to the Big East. When you got you got Marquette in Milwaukee, and you got Creighton in Omaha, and you got Butler in Indianapolis, and all these places. The St. Thomas would be attractive, but I don't think they can afford it financially because they'd have to. The arena they built for hockey would have to be compatible for basketball, and they got a lot of money to raise, and plus all it would cost, plus what happens to football. And
right.
Their big thing over there, Mike, they need land, and you got this football stadium sitting right in front of the thing, and they got land. They're also talking about building a new athletic complex. Well, that's $500 million probably, or some damn thing. So I don't know what I don't know where they're headed, but they're gonna have a good little Summit League basketball team over there.
Yes, they are, and it'd be interesting to see where that is in 5 or 10 years and how that landscape has maybe changed in a few of these sports. They're not going to be the little engine that could for forever. They're going to try to get themselves up into the bigger stratosphere. I think they have bigger designs, like you said, to get into a bigger conference and things like that. Well, Patrick, enjoyed our conversation today. Hope everybody else did as well. If you disagree, that's okay about whether this was the greatest Vikings win in regular season history or not. That's all right. I'll probably write about it a little bit more today, give you a few more options, but it's up there, man. That was a heck of a day on Sunday and quite a weekend of sports watching.
Justin Jefferson, greatest receiver in Viking history. Take that, Randy Moss fans. Woo! Plus, he's not an idiot either. That's
love it.
He's not running over traffic cops. No. And claiming that the marijuana debris in his ashtray belongs to somebody else. He's not. We haven't seen him doing any of that stuff yet.
No, we have not. Thanks, Patrick.
All right. See ya.